voting on a single charge, incitement of insurrection. I want to bring you now live to pictures of the House floor where just a week ago, I should say, many members of the House were hiding as a mob assaulted the Capitol. The Justice Department calling the Capitol still a crime scene. And it is remarkable to look at Capitol Hill today. There are hundreds of armed National Guard troops protecting the building today. A defense official tells CBS News the threat level at the Capitol is very high and that there are new questions today about the possibility that the riot was in part, quote, an inside job. An organizer of the president's January 6th rally says he worked closely with 3 Republican congressmen to put maximum pressure on members who were counting electoral votes. At least one of those congressmen denies any involvement. The 2 hours of debate ahead of today's vote was in fact heated. If you look now at the House floor, we can show you there are at least 10 Republicans who have voted yes on impeachment. This time around, they include Liz Cheney, the number 3 Republican in the House of Representatives. You can remember not a single Republican supported President Trump's first impeachment 13 months ago. There you see Republican 10 voting yay. Want to go now to Nancy Cordes. She is our chief congressional correspondent because the votes are now in to impeach President Trump. Nancy?
That is correct, Nora. So he will go down in history as the first president to be impeached twice. And the big difference between now and the last time that he was impeached 13 months ago by the House is that members of his own party have joined with all of the Democrats to declare that he has indeed committed an impeachable offense. 10 Republicans so far. There is a handful left to vote, but this is going to be a big blow to a president who in the past has managed to convince all of his House Republican members to stand by him. Not today.
And a majority of the House has now voted to impeach President Trump. And when the gavel officially falls, that will make it official. I want to bring in Ed O'Keefe. And Ed, extraordinary to watch some of the arguments being made today by both sides.
Yeah, it's been several hours of this between this actual debate and an earlier procedural vote. And essentially the arguments have boiled down to, if this isn't impeachable, what is? Versus this is a waste of time, a rush job, and a fulfillment of a 4-year pledge by Democrats to try to get rid of this president. And that is essentially the basis of the argument. A foregone conclusion, especially once we heard that there were so many Republicans interested. We're at 10 now. Some estimates had it going as high as 30, but earlier today there were indications that it would be probably closer to about a dozen, if that. Given the pressure on members of the party. And frankly, some internal polling that they saw overnight that shows that there is understanding that what went on last week is wrong and the president's partly responsible, but it might be detrimental to the future of their political careers.
Well, and how much of the Republican Party is influenced by not only Liz Cheney's very strong statement last night, but also word last night and then today, even your own reporting, that the Senate Republican leader, Mitch McConnell, is angry with the president and that he believes that the president should be impeached.
Yeah, it's a dwindling number of Republicans who are in that camp, if you believe the polling. Even looking at our own that was released this morning, while a majority of Americans believe that the president should be impeached, it was only about 50% Republicans who support going through with this. More than 8 in 10 oppose impeachment. Cheney, McConnell, a handful of others who've spoken out represent sort of that old school establishment, Main Street, business-friendly wing that is hoping now that as the president leaves, perhaps they can somehow reclaim some of their leadership and influence over the party. But that, it's far too soon to say. But clearly an effort underway by many of those establishment Republicans to try to regain some control and influence over things.
And Nancy Cordes on Capitol Hill, despite what Mitch McConnell said last night, has there been any change in his decision to bring back the Senate? They're in recess right now to move forward with a trial and conviction.
Nora, he announced today that despite the Democrats' wishes, he is not going to bring the Senate back early for a trial. The Senate is in recess right now. The House was supposed to be in recess this week, too, until this impeachment issue came up so suddenly. And so his decision not to bring the Senate back means that we will not see this Senate trial begin until perhaps the day that President-elect Biden is being sworn in. It's unclear at this point whether the trial would begin the day before the inauguration, on the inauguration, one day after the inauguration. We are really in uncharted waters here. Also unclear at this point is which party will control the Senate chamber when this trial gets underway. Because as you know, there have been those two Democratic victories in the state of Georgia, two senators yet to be sworn in. When that happens, control of the Senate will change hands from Republicans to Democrats. But right now, the state of Georgia has not yet certified those victories. Until it does, they can't be sworn in. So a lot is still in flux here. But one thing we do know now, Nora, is that Democrats do want to move this along to the Senate as quickly as they possibly can. In fact, last night, Speaker Pelosi named her 9 House impeachment managers. You'll recall from the last impeachment, these are the lawmakers who essentially serve as the prosecutors. When this goes to trial in the Senate, they will try the case. And the fact that she named them so quickly really indicates that she doesn't want to let any grass grow under her feet. She is going to send this one article of impeachment for incitement of insurrection to the Senate for a trial very swiftly.
Nancy Cortez, thank you. The headline at this hour: a majority of the House of Representatives has voted to impeach President Trump, including 10 Republicans, in a rebuke of the leader of their own party. As soon as the gavel falls, it will be official. A remarkable moment. And that's what's happening inside the Capitol, outside the Capitol. It's not only under unprecedented security, but also our nation's capital is practically impenetrable. You can't even drive through the streets of the District of Columbia. There are so many law enforcement officials and personnel on the streets. And for that, let's bring in CBS News Chief Justice and Homeland Security Correspondent Jeff Pegues. Jeff, I know you've been speaking with your sources